Ladies and gentlemen, you're probably wondering, what the hell does he have on his head? So recently I was going through a container in a box, in a box, in a box, and I found a pair of socks from the 1970s. And they are what we call glitter, Glitter, glitter socks. And these socks were very famous. They were very, very, very common in the 1970s for people who went to roller skating rinks, at which I used to go to a lot of roller skating rinks and do a lot of roller skating itself in Central Park. And I do have pictures of that. But in fact, I did the roller skating floor for a roller skating rink on Queens Boulevard in New York City. So I had extensive roller skating skills back then. And I actually could do those, some of those spins where you could turn around and skate backwards. And I was probably better on the roller skating rink for them than I was on the dance floor. But I did have a really cool pair of skates. Back in 1977, when I built the rink, I think I paid $200 for a pair of roller skates. And then I paid an additional $50 for the wheels with lights in them. And each wheel had its own little generator. And that was pretty cool. I just remembered that from these socks. Because I had a pair of these socks in red, and I had a pair of socks like this in a silver color also. I think I had two pairs. So this is a remnant of the 1970s, and when life was much better, by the way. So to get to a more serious note, we're going to talk about the contamination of the oceans, period, all oceans, Russian oceans, American oceans, the oceans of China, Great Britain. And I'm going to start you off with a video that I have noted here. The name of the video is the 5 most dangerous beaches in the world. So in the link that I'm going to post now, it says start the video at the 2-minute and 10-second mark. And what's going to happen is at the 2-minute and 10-second mark, it's going to go to a picture that you're going to see. This is the picture that you're going to see. Shield, SHIELD, Shield Bay. And this is where the narration for more scumbubble wording by the news and so-called news agencies, where they describe this place called Shield Bay in Russia as one of the 5 most polluted beaches in the world. And the reason it's mentioned as one of the 5 most polluted beaches is because this is, according to the video that I posted, this is where they store what they call disused nuclear submarines, or disused Russian nuclear submarines. And that they don't say this directly in the video, but they do say it directly as possible. And what they described is the reason that this beach is one of the 5 most dangerous beaches in the world is because, I think, if I remember the numbers correctly, you're allowed to get 120 microsieverts of radiation per year. But this beach and surfing on the beach will give you much higher microsieverts of radiation. And even even though they said that, they're not specific at all. They just said it's one of the 5 most dangerous beaches in the world, which brings me to, if nuclear submarines from Russia are being stored there, and if they're, it says in the article, they are leaking, Leaking, leaking radiation into the bay, Shield Bay. What does that mean? What it means is that, from my understanding of nuclear power plants and radioactive cores, is that the cores in the submarines and ships, and we're going to get into that in a moment, even after they say the word disused, they mean decommissioned, but they don't say that. See, they subterfuge the truth with blah, blah, blah. So even though these submarines are at rest or decommissioned, the atomics of the nuclear reactors and the cores, from my understanding, is that they have to be cooled off for years after they shut them down. So in other words, what they're doing, and I think what they're doing, what I think they're doing, what I'm pretty sure they're doing, what they probably are doing, is they have to keep the they have to keep the nuclear cores cool, so they have to bring in fresh ocean water, and then they have to put it someplace. And then that means they have to dump it because they can't store it. So if you've ever seen Little Creek, Virginia, where they have the biggest American fleet of warships in the United States, and I have many pictures and of me being in Little Creek, Virginia, where they store the nuclear submarines and the aircraft carriers and the battleships. Was an amazing thing. We don't have like 1 or 2 nuclear submarines. I don't know how many we have, 100, 200. But in Little Creek, Virginia, or Battle Creek, Virginia, maybe, they have like rows of nuclear submarines that I went by when I was bringing the barge dragging from New York to Florida to bring it to Cat Island in the Caribbean. You might go past, I don't know, a mile of nuclear submarines that are at dock, and the warship, the nuclear submarines on the way to Florida through the intercoastal where I was, on the left-hand side was our fleet of nuclear submarines, and on the right-hand side was the fleet of warships. But we have lots of them. So does Russia, and so does China. So if Russian nuclear submarines are leaking, so they say, well, then that would mean that all nuclear submarines are leaking. So they just tell stories to the useless eaters of the world. That's a Henry Kissinger phrase. Useless eaters, people that don't understand economics or political narrative, people that don't understand politics, underachievers, people with small or no education that just perform mundane tasks. That's Henry Kissinger's definition for those types of people, useless eaters. So I gave you the links, and you can go look at that stuff yourself. But I'm going to go through how a nuclear power plant is set up, and then how nuclear submarines just dump toxic waste behind them 24/7. And we have thousands of ships that are now nuclear powered. Russian icebreakers, submarines from, I think China has nuclear submarines, but certainly Great Britain, America, and Russia has them. And all of these ships, they have a nuclear core. I'll explain the physics of a nuclear core in a power plant on land, and then I'll explain how they work, and then I'm going to explain how a nuclear submarine core operates. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to shut this tab down, and I'm going to go back to the comments. Okay, so there's a man here named 2006 Crusader 2006. I remember that too, by the way. The UK dumped nuclear waste in the North Sea already in the 1960s. So what I think this 2006 Crusader is referring to is the United Kingdom. It could have been, or I could be mistaken, it could have been Russia. But what they did at some point in the 60s and 70s is they took the nuclear cores out of their ships and submarines and the rods, and they just dumped them into a very deep part of the ocean, figuring they wouldn't have that much of an impact on the environment. So 2006 can confirm that. But I do remember reading extensively about that, where they found a very deep part of the ocean, not the Mariana Trench, and they just took the cores and rods and nuclear fissionable materials out of the ships and submarines and just took them out in their full, capacity for radioactive waste, and just took them out, put them on a ship, and then they dumped them into a deep part of the sea. And that's what they do. Yeah, King Bog of Houston Town. Yeah. Well, I'm going to get to Fukushima in a minute. So you people have no idea how much radioactive waste goes into the oceans and into landfills. And aside from all of that, all of the nuclear power plants have tens of square miles of lands that surround the nuclear power plant themselves, with ponds and storage facilities for the radioactive waste, and they're all filling up. And then they've made, supposedly they've made other grave sites for the nuclear waste, and those are filling up. And then they have the nuclear waste from the Hansen power plant during World War II, where they just took the yellow cake and they put it in the ground in steel containers that were like 1 million gallons per container. And it was a double-walled steel container. And when they put the yellow cake in the, you could look this up, yellow cake Hansen nuclear power plant. Well, when they put it in there, they figured by the time it became a problem, they'd be able to take that nuclear waste out of the containers and recycle it into something that didn't have any effect on the environment. But they never did that. And now radioactive waste has destroyed the cell structure of those containers. It's called chelation, and the actual containers that the yellow cake is in, it's very much similar to when you take a plastic milk bottle and put it in the sun and it gets brittle, and when you pick it up it just disintegrates in your hand. Well, that's what nuclear waste does to metal. It chelates it. So that those are all leaking. Those are all leaking into the rivers and to the underground water systems. But those are just some small things. Princess Anne, welcome to the machine. Thank you for stopping by. Those are just small amounts of radioactive waste compared to, well, okay, let's go into let's start with Fukushima. So let's get Mr. Obama over here. Let's the star of Fukushima, and how everything was gonna be better in 2 weeks, and nothing got better. It just got worse, because nothing is gonna get better until they wipe out life as we know it on the planet Earth. It's gonna get worse, right, Mr. Obama? That's right, Michael. Well, Michael, you call me Mr. Fazio, or I'll put you back up on the shelf. Mr. Fazio, I'm sorry. I know you took me diving, and you took me to Virgin Islands, and I love going scuba diving with you, Mr. Fazio. All right, Mr. Obama, thank you. So remember when you said you were going to cure Fukushima? I did cure Fukushima. What I did was I fixed it. I turned off all the nuclear radiation reading devices in all the government buildings in America, in the colleges, in the universities. And then I told everybody, you can't publish how much radiation is coming from Fukushima. And I did the same thing on the USS Ronald Reagan. I made them shut off their nuclear radiation detectors. I fixed it. Nobody knew that the radiation was being on the people, and I fixed it. So that's how, Mr. Obama, that's how you fixed it. You turned off the radioactive devices that read how much. That's right. You've done videos on this before, Mr. Fazio. So here we have Mr. Obama admitting that the way he showed a decline of radioactive emissions from Fukushima is he shut off the radiological devices that read how much radiation are being spewed from Fukushima. Is that correct? That's right, Mr. Fazio. Okay, Mr. Obama. Well, thanks for confirming that with me. So let me talk to you about Fukushima. So doesn't anybody remember Fukushima? I mean, seriously, doesn't anybody remember Fukushima? Are you people serious that you can't remember what happened 10 years ago? Well, in case you're seriously stupid and you can't remember, Fukushima had a full core meltdown, and they said they were going to fix it in a few weeks, but they never did. And it's never stopped leaching radioactive waste into the Pacific Ocean. I'm going to put you down, Mr. Obama. Put me down, Michael Fazio. So you people are stone stupid in that your memories are basically worthless. Your ability to do research on what I just said is basically worthless. And Henry Kissinger had it right when he said, you people that have been dumbed down to the point of not being able to do even simple research on the internet are what Henry Kissinger called you, the useless eaters of the world. And he was correct. So I'm going to talk to you about how a nuclear power plant works. I remember that 2006. So a nuclear power plant has tens of square miles around it. Now, I know that a lot of you, most of you, almost all of you, have never been inside a nuclear power plant. And I have. I was inside Turkey Point. I was brought into Turkey Point by a man who was the head of security on a nuclear submarine that guarded the nuclear core of a nuclear submarine. Now, there's lots of people like that, but this particular guy, I worked with him at a club called Coconuts Bar and Grill in Key Largo. So when he retired from the Navy, or when he got out of the Navy, he worked as security in Turkey Point Nuclear Power Plant up in South Florida, in Homestead. So he brings me to the power plant. Now, I had my camera, but weren't allowed to take pictures. They took the camera and they put it in a, they took my personal possessions away from me, the cell phone and the camera, and they put it in a locker. And then I changed out of my clothes into a suit, there, and I got a nuclear badge. And then I had to go through a gate that checked for what my radiation level was when I went into the plant. And then when I was given a tour around the plant, when I came back out, you walk through what looked like a metal detector, but it would be able to detect as a micron of nuclear dust, which of course you're not supposed to have. It shouldn't happen, and it didn't happen. So when you go through a nuclear power plant, you see things that you'll never see in a video. You'll never see it, maybe now, but not then. You'll never see the kind of redundant systems that they have in a nuclear power plant. And I'll give you a for instance. In order to keep a nuclear power plant cool, there are 6 in Turkey Point for the reactor that I went through. There were 6 electric motors that were about 2 feet plus in diameter. And you walk past this rack of pipe systems. It was above ground. And each pipe that went into the ground had access to fresh water to cool the nuclear power plant. So, and next to those 6 motors, that was the redundancy, was 2 motors would be working. And then if one of those motors fell, a third motor would kick on, and there would still be 3 more redundant motors for the plant. So theoretically, they needed 2, but they had 6. But right next to the motors were sealed containers, and in those sealed containers were 6 more motors. So not only did they have extra motors available in real time, but they had 6 more engines or motors on call that could be just, the failed motor would be unbolted, taken out of the service, and the new motor would be placed in place. And it was right next to it. It was only like 20 feet away. And there was a crane that would pick it up and move it over. So they have all of this redundancy in a nuclear power plant, and all that you see in a nuclear power plant, everything that you see from the air, if you get to see that, is to keep the core, which is about 20 feet wide, if that, and 15 or 18 feet high, the actual containment vessel, if that. And the fuel that's in that containment vessel is typically about 5% plutonium or U-238, depending on what type of a reactor it is. So it's 5% is a high percentage. 3 to 5% is normal. Could be 7% in some of the newer reactors. But so it's 7%. Let's just say it's 7% plutonium or U-238 or whatever they're using in that type of reactor. And it takes square miles of pipe and fans and buildings and hundreds of wastewater pools that we went out into the back, and we went on a golf cart, and for as far as you could see, there were ponds with a rubber lining in the pond, and that was where the water was cooled off, and then it was brought back into the plant. But when it rains, and it rains a lot in Florida, those ponds overflow and the water goes directly into the ground, which goes directly into the groundwater up in that part of Homestead. They put it in like an area where there's no buildings. You go off the turnpike in several miles to New Turkey Point Power Plant, and then those ponds are even further away. So they have square miles of ponds and buildings and fans and blowers and pumps. The size of, the pumps are 2 feet plus in diameter, the electric motors. And that just keeps that little containment vessel, let's say it's 15 feet wide and 20 feet high, whatever it is. They're all different sizes. They need all that to keep a 5 or 7% enriched uranium power plant cool. And that might, let's just say it puts out 10 megawatts or kilowatts. Let's just say it puts out, the amount of electric it puts out is, let's say 100, so that you people make it easy for you. So let's say it puts out 100 units of power in a 24-hour time period. Nothing like that inside a submarine. And that's why that's the reason for this video. In a submarine, the nuclear power plant, the core, is not much bigger, if as big, as a big garbage pail or a 55-gallon drum. And that is 90+% enriched uranium. And the amount of energy that a nuclear power plant in a nuclear submarine puts out, using something the size of a 55-gallon drum, is more power than most nuclear power plants. So how do they keep it cool? They keep it cool by pumping fresh ocean water over the reactor and dumping it back into the ocean. They will never say this. They're not going to tell you this. But if a nuclear power plant has tens of square miles of redundant systems to keep the radioactive waste from going up into the atmosphere, where does the nuclear waste go from a submarine? Go straight into the ocean. So they are polluting the oceans every day, 24/7. Every country is dumping the nuclear waste from their submarines directly into the ocean. And if you have an aircraft carrier, with now some of them have 2 nuclear reactors in the aircraft carriers, that waste cannot be stored. That's dumped into the oceans as well. Now, they do try some to use the batteries to get in and out of the harbor. So they're not dumping nuclear waste into the harbors where they come in and out of. But after they get out into the ocean, all bets are off, and they just dump that crap right into the ocean. Up, Dennis Adam is here. Dennis Adam. See, talk about nuclear atomics. Dennis Adam is my friend, first of all, but he has a channel that he does videos about how to burn coal. And that's also burned. They also burn coal in a lot of nuclear power plants. They have a backup system for coal or fuel oil. But Dennis Adam had a problem getting. He was going to remove some rusted bolts out of some cast iron doors on his coal stove, and I explained to Dennis to tap the bolts with a hammer and also use something called nut buster, which breaks the rust. But as a last resort, Dennis Adam can go to the Ace Hardware store in his area up in Pennsylvania and buy a small thermonuclear device and put that little small thermonuclear device right underneath where the door is and set that off. And that should loosen up the bolts of the door, so he can get the glass out of the door to replace the broken glass panes. There are 2 broken glass panels in Dennis Adams' stove doors, and also in another stove that he has, the glass has been marbleized, and he he's not going to replace the marbleized glass. I don't know. He's just lazy, I guess. But if you need to get the bolts out, then it's a small thermonuclear device right underneath the door. Just set a timer and leave the basement. And after the device is, triggered, put the fan on for a half an hour, and then you could go back in. It'll be safe. The bolt should be free. So, okay, so Crusader, you're right about that. So Crusader says that Japan, parts of Japan, not all, but parts of Japan is no longer safe to live in. And that's true. That is true. But they're not going to tell you that. And especially Fukushima Prefecture, they're just not going to tell you that because this is the plan. I know that you people think that this is a conspiracy theory, but it's not. I'm going to go into in-depth into sperm counts in a minute or two or a few minutes, and that every person that's, say, 20 years old, that's healthy, their sperm counts have been reduced somewhere between 20 and 50%, as opposed to a healthy person born in 1960. So what the government is actually doing is reducing your sperm count from the radioactive waste that's just ambient. Now, ambient means in the atmosphere, in the water, in the oceans, but also the fertile eggs from women at the age of 20. Those eggs are now being irradiated with radiation, and now there are less fertile eggs. Now, I don't mind so much the fact that the eggs and the sperm is being reduced, but now I'm going to take it personal. The government is reducing my sperm count, and I take that personal. So I know it sounds stupid, but here is the plan. The plan, the long-term plan, was to allow all this radiation. What I spoke about as far as the nuclear submarines and the ships, that's true. They just take the water out of the ocean and they run it past the reactor through cooling fins and cycles and different pipe and plumbing and radiator systems, and they just dump it straight back into the ocean. And a lot of times when those ships go past a part of wells while underway, using the nuclear atomics to power the ships, a lot of dolphins, seals, and whales just die, and they fall down to the bottom of the ocean. Sometimes they wash up on shore and they're radioactive, but the government is not going to tell you that. And we're going to get involved with how the government has covered up the Gulf oil spill and how they lie. You can't Google the Gulf oil disaster, people dying from core exit, CORE hyphen EXIT. You cannot Google that and find a single article. You're not going to be able to do it. It's all been washed off the internet. I can't, and I tried for about 10 minutes, but I do have an article that I'm going to post about core exit and the Gulf of Mexico oil spill, because I lived in Florida at the time, and how they covered that up. And what they were doing is now they don't call it core exit anymore. See how the news just lies to you. Same way Trump lies to you. Same way Biden lies to you. They all lie. Right now, I'm the only person on the internet telling you the truth, because I have the white fedora, which means a person that wears a white fedora can only speak the truth while the white fedora is in place. Let's see what Dennis has. Dennis is back. You're gonna. I know you're gonna swap the doors. I'm just trying to. Dennis was. I know. I listened to the whole video. I'm just trying to help other people that have problems with rusty nuts. If you have problem with rusty nuts, a small thermonuclear device immediately underneath the nuts. Just set that off. Come back into the room. Half hour later, put a fan on for half an hour, and you'll be okay. Your rusty nuts will be. The problem will be solved. Dennis ran out of gas. Between the bad back, the sciatica, 2-hour live streams, he ran out of gas. Scott Del Fuego. Scott Del Fuego. Oh my God. The Scott Del Fuego was in the house, but I am not sure that's Scott Del Fuego because the message was put up there, computations, and then removed. I saw it. It looked like Scott Del Fuego very rarely removes a comment. Scott is very precise in his wording. So getting back to core exit, you can't even Google core exit and Gulf of Mexico anymore. Even though they put, now this is total baloney. This is total bakaku ka, as we say in the Philippines. Let me get you the article. I have it. I have the. Let me go to my notes. The scum bubbles in the media have removed the name core exit and replaced it with dispersant, but it's still 52 times more deadly than the oil spill itself. So I'm gonna copy that for you. It's in my notes here. If it's in my notes, it's true, by the way. So let me get back. I will not be posting. Let me get back to my live stream. Oh, okay. I see that now. Thank you, Dennis. I wasn't paying attention. Okay, so here is the facts. That's right. Okay. Okay, thank you, Scott. I apologize. I just didn't see the wrench because I was concentrating on the message removed. Thank you for stopping by, Scott. Scott is the wordsmith, so there might not be any wordsmithing today, but I love Scott's wordsmithing. So his computer, see, they do have trouble. Scott has had his computer in the shop 3 times. It's going back into the shop. And now it's at the end of its warranty where they may have to give him a free computer. So I'm not the only person having trouble with my computer. Now, I'm going to give you the article itself with the link that says Gulf of Mexico cleanup makes the 2010 spill. That's the Exxon Valdez. They won't mention the name. These pieces of shit that talk to you in verbiage that you just want to just scream the truth out. And these pieces of shit, they control the world, not me, not you, not Scott. I should be in control of the media. Then you'd get the truth. So maybe that's a good idea. See, now, damn it. Okay, so I'm going to have to cut this. I have to cut this article in half to get it up there. Amazing. I'm going to have to put it in 2 pieces. But anyway, the second piece has the link at the bottom of the link. So I'll give you, I'll define the article to you, how they cover up the truth. So if you Google people dying of core exit, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. Yeah. People dying from core exit. Google it. People dying from core exit. And here is what you get. SARS. Frequently asked questions about SARS. How many people died of SARS in the United States? Next article, suicide data. Next article, tuberculosis, World Health Organization. Next article, death scene investigation from a viewpoint of forensics. Next article, coronavirus. You can't even Google people dying from Corexit, even though thousands of people got sick, got pneumonia, and died from Corexit poisoning in the Gulf of Mexico. You can't Google it. It doesn't come up. Nothing comes up under the word Corexit, people dying from Corexit poisoning, Corexit being sprayed on the Gulf of Mexico. Nothing comes up. So I'm going to post that. You can Google it yourself, but I'll post it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you the actual article. Thank you, Princess Anne. Appreciate that. Scum bubbles run rampant in the media. Now, Scott would know better than anybody else because Scott is privy to certain information from higher ups that you and I will never see. You and I will never see some of the pieces of information that Scott is privy to. They cover everything up. You know, you have these pieces of garbage in the media that didn't report on the violence in Washington, D.C. at the Million MAGA March, whatever that was. They won't report on it. Now, I have articles up on that too, but not today's topic. After first talk about the United States government covering up the poisonous nuclear submarine and ship waste and also the Corexit. So if you Google people dying from Corexit, all I come up with is coronavirus, SARS, and other bullshit. So that's not possible. So now, if you go here and you Google Corexit deaths, okay? So here we have Corexit deaths. I Googled that right there. See that blue? Now, what you come up with is some subterfuge bullshit about Corexit 9527 alpha produced 50% mortality rate at 2 hours and 100% mortality rate at 24 hours. But what they're talking about is not people dying. They're talking about cell death on fish and other aquatic marine life. They will not. You cannot Google. I'm going to put this up. I'm going to put this up on the board. Google Corexit deaths, and this is what you get. You get them talking about how fast the cell structure of fish and wildlife dies, but not human beings. But I'm going to still read you another article about this. So the next article I have here is Corexit deaths. Now, it says Corexit effects on human beings. Is Corexit dangerous? Corexit toxicity. But no, not a single option for how many people died from Corexit poisoning, which what it did was when people breathed it in when they were cleaning up the Gulf of Mexico, it would go into their lungs. It breaks down the red blood cells and your kidneys, and it gives people pneumonia. So the average age of the people that were cleaning up the Exxon Valdez spill while they were spraying Corexit on the oil, the average age expectancy of a 20 or 30-year-old person working in that operation is death by the age of 50. And that's all under those links that I'm not going to post 100 links, but so I'll just read you one particular. Is Corexit dangerous? So if you Google that, it says Corexit 9527, considered by the EPA to be an acute health hazard. That means death. Is stated by the manufacturer to be potentially harmful to red blood cells, the kidneys and liver, and may irritate the eyes and skin. It can cause rupture of the blood cells and may cause internal bleeding. So I'll copy that. I don't know how much of that will fit into a 200. You know, for the owner of the channel, you should be able to post as many words as you want, but they don't let you do that. So I'm going to have to cut this in half. So I'll give you both halves of the definition. Is Corexit dangerous? So they refuse to say how many thousands of people from the Exxon Valdez and the Gulf of Mexico oil spill. They also lie to you. They freaking lie to you big time. So I lived in South Florida in Key Largo while the Gulf oil spill happened. So what they did, in case if people that are coming or watching this, they made it where they would arrest you if you were in the Gulf of Mexico while they were spraying the entire Gulf of Mexico with Corexit. If you flew over the Gulf of Mexico, they would arrest you when you landed and take away your pilot's license. And I wanted to fly over it. I wanted to hire a plane and fly over it, but I wasn't allowed. Not me flying, another pilot. So a couple of pilots did it, and they ended up losing their license. And all they were doing was videotaping the oil spill. They weren't interfering with anything. So the government, they lied to you again. So in the actual supposed government documentation of how much Corexit they sprayed in the Gulf of Mexico over 87 days was 2 million gallons. Let me tell you something. You people don't understand what 2 million gallons is, but it's not much. It's not a lot. And they were spraying this stuff 24/7. And they weren't just spraying it over the Gulf of Mexico. They were spraying it within a few miles of the shoreline for no reason other than it was their test to see how many people will die if we spray how much Corexit over the general population. This is not something I made up. These articles were all on YouTube and all on the internet, but they're all gone now. They call it scrubbing the internet. But during the time of the Gulf oil spill, they said that 2 million gallons of Corexit was sprayed over the Gulf over 87 days. It was proven that the United States government, in combination with the United States Coast Guard and Exxon itself, sprayed 40 million gallons of Corexit on the Gulf of Mexico. But you can't find that anymore. But I remember the article. It was factual. It was true. It was proven at the time, and now it's gone. Now, Scott Del Fuego, the wordsmith, he's got knowledge here. He's wordsmithing and dispersing. They don't even call it spraying. They call the Corexit dispersants. They don't call it Corexit. It's bullshit, because Corexit, the name Corexit means a chemical that goes into the core of the molecule of life in your body. It breaks the bubble of that molecule, goes in and turns it into jelly, and you're dead in 2 hours. If you put the molecule in Corexit, the molecule any molecule dies in 2 hours. So Scott is dispersing knowledge here that you should pay attention to. Scott says the speed with which the desperate is willing to force vaccinate and the totalitarian instincts used to get there is terrifying. They are going full speed ahead. I'm going to give you that article that will Justin Trudeau, the dancer, son of, I think it's Castro, actually. I think he's the son of Castro. He just did a documentary or a video upload that the Great Reset is moving forward. Scott also says, you people don't understand the gravity of this warnings or appreciate the sacrifice Michael Fazio makes to inform you. No, thank you very much, Scott. They don't. This is what Henry Kissinger. We have now become a dumbed down race of people. Not me, not Scott, not Dennis, but we have become a dumbed down race of people that only listen to bullshit on the news, and you have forgotten or not took the time. You got these useless eaters, let's call them useless eaters, that all they want to do is play video games and watch shows like Seinfeld or Cheers or Barney Miller or absolutely completely worthless television shows, and they believe that is what they should fill their lives with, worthless bullshit on television. But then you got people that do the research and do like me. You think that this research just popped into my head? I've been reading since 5:30 this morning to refresh what I forgot, and then to go back and look at core exit articles that no longer say the word core exit deaths, even though in Louisiana they sprayed core exit over the general population, 2 or 3 miles away from the shoreline, and people were sick immediately. All, and I mean all, workers in the Gulf of Mexico that were cleaning up the oil, all came down with pneumonia or other problems, and most have died. So they estimated 10,000 deaths by the year 2013 when I left America, which is another reason why I left America. America is allowed Fukushima to go unnoticed. America allowed the Gulf of Mexico oil spill and the core exit. I lived in Key Largo. I'll say Brian, who lived down the block from me, had a boat and he fished the Gulf of Mexico for lobsters and shrimps. Now, he didn't fish shrimps, but he had a friend of mine, a friend of his, that fished shrimp in the Gulf of Mexico. All the shrimp in the Gulf of Mexico were born blind or went blind from the core exit poisoning. And the seafood from the Gulf of Mexico was deemed poisonous for about 1.5 to 2 years. They didn't tell you that. It's the truth, but they didn't tell you that. Whales, dolphins, and other marine life, big marine life, octopus, fish, all died and fell to the bottom of the ocean floor. Core exit landed on the top surface of the ocean and sunk down to the bottom of the floor of the ocean and killed everything on the Gulf of Mexico, the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico. Jacques Cousteau did his grandson did a research thing there of how it was killing the marine life at different levels of toxicity, and the stuff was kind of floating around in the thermal, what is called the thermal. I'm not going to explain thermals, where the heat changes from the surface temperature of the Gulf of Mexico to the bottom depth. It's called the thermal. But on the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico, everything was dead. Everything just died instantly. Within like a few days, everything was dead. So he put this up, and all those videos were banned from the internet. So people don't understand, says Scott Del Fuego, the gravity of his warnings or appreciate the sacrifice Michael Fazio makes to inform you. I'll tell you, I spend a lot of hours doing this because there's really not much else to do. If I pointed the camera outside, you would just see rain. I'll do that. I don't know that you'll be able to see it, but it's pouring outside. Now, you might be able to hear it, but it is pouring outside. And we've had, yesterday we had a torrential downpour. But anyway, moving past that. I do this because for me it's fun. Because I laugh at the stupid people of the world. You people, a lot of people, why did you move to, I moved to the Philippines because I saw the destruction of America 10 years before anybody else. It wasn't a slow death of America. It was an intentionally planned death of America. They, quote unquote, they want you dead. That's the truth, quote unquote. They want you dead. If you remember, Rabbi Drew Barker told you they wanted you dead and how they were going to do it. And they did it, and no one noticed. And now the sperm count in the young people and the fertile eggs in the young women in America, in some parts of America, has been reduced 20 to 50% of what a healthy male or female was in the 1960s. It's the plan. It's not a conspiracy theory anymore. And let me get to the Great Reset article that I have here up on by Trudeau. Justin Trudeau. Yep. Some things we have up there. Justin Trudeau pushes the Great Reset into the mainstream media. So I'm going to open up that link, and probably if I post this, there's a good chance that this stream is going to fail for different reasons. For different reasons. Well, look, Christian, this guy has got a great channel. He covers a lot of international politics. I'm not going to, I'll turn it around. This is what he looks like. This guy is the new,
the globalist great
of the internet.
World. The Great
He's
Reset
probably one of the few people that cover politics as a YouTuber as well, or as good as Press Reset Earth, or the Jericho Report. So what this article is about. Now, I'm serious about this. I'm serious about this. What this article, what this video, it's see, this is another thing that you people are so damn stupid. You're incompetent. You're incapable of watching a 10-minute video because they've reduced your ability to focus on anything for more than just a few seconds. So this article here that I'm going to post, and I'm going to copy it and post it 3 times, by this, he's a very good reporter on the truth of what's going on in the United States and in the world. I'm going to post it 3 times, and then I'm going to give you his name. But I suggest you subscribe to this channel if you want to see somebody that's covering what the truth is, not only about the voter irregularities, which another useless eaters on YouTube can't get through their head that the voting machines were corrupted. Let's just say that. Scott says, so going back to Scott Del Fuego, the wordsmith and now the giver of knowledge. The U.S. is in a state of undeclared civil war. Now, that's provable by how many riots. See, this guy Trump, and I call him a guy. Let's get Trump over. You're a piece of, he's a piece of dirty toilet paper, Trump, in my opinion, okay? He's not telling you what the truth is. This is all part of the plan to get you people divided, cause a self-imposed civil war. This has always been the plan. So just picture this with a piece of toilet paper, brown toilet paper, hanging off as a badge of honor for Trump, because that's all he is. He's just a new face of the New World Order. So Trump says, oh, the mainstream media, they're liars. The mainstream media, it's fake news. But does he give you the real news? No. The real news is that the riots in Seattle, Washington, and Portland, Oregon never stop. Riots in New York City are all over the place. And the riots in Washington, D.C. were rampant during the MAGA March. But he doesn't say that because he's part of the plan. He gives you half the truth. So we'll just give him half a roll of soiled toilet paper. Could make like a hat out of a roll of soiled toilet paper. Let's give, where is this? Where is it? I don't know how to do it. I got some toilet. I don't have any used toilet paper. Usually I keep a half a roll of used toilet paper laying around. I could stick it. Let me see what I got here. Hold on a second. I got toilet paper here somewhere because I need the toilet paper. When I read the articles on the internet, yeah, I got it right here. Okay, we're good. We're good. Hang on there. Now, you got to picture this little roll of toilet paper right here. Put that, you got to picture this used. I want you to picture it used. I don't want you to think of it as white knighting. And it's stuck inside Mr. Trump's head, right? Like that. Because this is the bullshit that you get from Trump. You get half the truth. You get half the truth and you get half lies, but you don't get any real truth. So Trump says the media is the fake news, but does he tell you the real news? No. It takes a channel called One America News Network. I'll get you an article from that. It takes a channel called One America News Network, I think it is. I'm going to shut that people dying from Corexit. You can't Google it anymore, so there's no reason to have that. How does Corexit affect marine life? Let me give you one article on how Corexit affects marine life. I'll post it 3 times. If you people want to watch it, that's up to you. But it destroys life in hours, not days, not months. So, but there is one more article I want to post that the Corexit sprayed in the Gulf of Mexico made the spill 52 times more deadly to life itself, all life, marine life, human life, shell life, clam life, shrimp life, lobster life. And I have that article right here. I think it's sciencedaily.com. Yeah, here it is, right here. So, Gulf of Mexico cleanup makes the 2010 spill 52 times more toxic. Mixing oil with the increased toxicity to the ecosystem 52 times, and this is dated November 30th, 2012, by the Georgia Institute of Technology. So let me see, I have this in my notes. I wrote this down. Let me get this. Oh, right here. Okay. Here it is. Gulf of Mexico cleanup. Let's see what we got here. I'm going to have to cut this. What I'm going to do, see how many letters do I have to remove from this? 247. I got to remove 47. So I'm going to have to take that out. I could take the date out. I could take the source out. Let's see how many letters. Got to be less than 200 characters. I still got to take 19 letters out. Hold on. I'm trying to get it so I could post it. I'm going to take the date out. That'll give me less than 200 characters. $194. Okay. So when you read this, just remember this is from the Georgia Institute of Technology, which has been totally corrupted as well, but at least it's a little bit closer to the track. So I'll give you this article, and you can see for yourself that putting the Corexit, what they now call a dispersant, mixing it with the oil, made it 52 times more toxic to life itself, all life, marine life, human life, bird life, fish life, whale life, seal life, porpoise life, dolphin life, fish life, crab life, all life, mixing the correct. And they knew this in advance before they put it into the Gulf of Mexico. This is what the government does. They do trials with these chemicals, large-scale trials in this case. Now, thousands of people, they sprayed Corexit miles away from the shoreline. They sprayed it 2 or 3 miles away from the shoreline. Why? But there was no oil 2 or 3 miles away. They sprayed it on people, on children playing in playgrounds in the day and at night. They sprayed it on people, the houses, the lawns, in their pools. They constantly sprayed. You're going to tell me 2 million gallons? No, it was 40 million gallons was proven to have been bought by the United States government, but now you can't find that article. So if you read this article, then you're going to see that it's all true, that it's 52 times more toxic. And now you're going to tell me that these large corporations, the people that run the freaking world, didn't know this? You can't tell me that. You can tell me that the stupid people that are known as the useless eaters, according to Henry Kissinger, they don't know it or believe it. But you can't tell me that a multi-billion and trillion-dollar industry, the oil industry, didn't know that mixing Corexit with oil made it 52 times more toxic. These people have trillions of dollars invested into these companies and billions of dollars into research, and you're going to say they didn't know this? I'm not going to. So if you want to believe what you want to believe. And now I'm looking at the screen. I'm looking at 9 people showed up for this 9 people showed up for my little dissertation on nuclear waste, which shows you how fucking worthless YouTube and the useless eaters have become. No one wants to hear the truth. They want to watch video games. They want to talk about TikTok videos. They want to read the newspapers and say, "Oh, Mr. Trump is going to make everything better." No, he's not. He's not going to make anything better. I explained to you 10 years ago what they were going to do through chemical poisoning, vaccinations, chemtrails, Fukushima, and other chemicals in the water that you ingest in the form of a pill or a capsule, and then you urinate it out of your body, and then it goes into the groundwater, or like throughout the Midwest or farm country. Well, that water goes, that the excretion from your body goes into a cesspit or a septic tank. The bacteria is killed from some of those septic tanks or cesspits or drain fields, but the actual chemical that you ingest, the antibiotics, that does not get filtered out through the ground, and it goes straight into the water supply. So everybody is ingesting antibiotics and the chemicals, that antidepressant chemicals, whatever the names of those chemicals are. Those chemicals don't get dispersed by groundwater, or some get diluted and dissolved, but most go right back into the water supply. And if you were to take a sample at a septic treatment plant in New York City or any big city, whereas 100 years ago, if you took a sample of septic water from a sewer, it would be a small amount of trace chemicals. But now there's a lot of trace chemicals, and all of those trace chemicals all have some effect on the human genome. So you people out there, you people are being dumbed down every day. So now, because I tell the truth, this organization called Google and YouTube, instead of sending out a notification to 20,000 subscribers, they don't send it out to anybody. And the Truth Lady told me, and Scott last week, and Dennis also a few weeks ago, all said that they get in the notices for my live streams 3 hours after my live stream posts, after I'm done with it. So that's the way it is. But I'll still do them, because I don't have much else to do right now until I start building again. I really don't have much else to do. Now, yesterday, I'll tell you what I did, and I made videos, and it's only the videos. I had to make a promise, and I only made a few short videos for a few minutes, but I had to make a promise to about, 3 people directly walked up to me on the beach and said they know who I am. They've known who I am for years. In fact, I've been to parties with every one of these people. So I'm walking down the beach yesterday, and I was swimming, because I went swimming. Tide is high at 1 o'clock. So I did like a 2-hour swim, snorkel. I have a really cool video of some fish that I could post. It's little fish about that long, stripes on them, but maybe 1,000 or more of them in a truck tire. And they were in the truck tire, and when I came up with the camera, they came out of the truck tire. And the truck tire is covered with white dust, and the fish are like black and green and brown. So they came out of the tire, and then when I backed away from them, they went back into the tire. Then when I moved up closer to them, they came out of the tire. So it kind of looks like a dance, a fish dance. So I'm going to try to find some really cool music. Anyway, I did that. That was a cool little video that I'll post. And then I did a little swim, maybe not much, I don't think I swam 500. I don't think I swam 500 feet west, and I swam 200 feet north, and then 200 feet back in. I don't think I swam 1,000 feet yesterday. But anyway, when I got back to the beach, I saw a party. I didn't know who it was. I had no, I mean, I don't keep track of who's having a party on the beach. And they had this huge swan, blow up swan, like 5 feet in diameter and 3 or 4 feet tall, 3 feet tall, with a pink hat on it, yellow hat, pink hat. So I put the camera on, and I'm not making any bone about it. I'm making a video of the people on the beach. And when I got closer, I just was going by them. I always going to pass them by. And they said, Michael, come here, eat, because they were serving food. And they had, turned out that I knew the people, and they had Cajun shrimp, roasted chicken, blue claw crabs, and a lot of it, pork, broiled pork, barbecued pork, rice, of course, bihun, of course. There was a case of Coca-Cola, and there was about, I guess, altogether, there was 20 people or less thereabouts, but there was a lot of children there. So I had, in the course of walking up to the party without knowing who they were, I had the video camera on. And when they invited me to the party, I still had the video camera on. And then I realized that these are my friends and they don't want to be on camera. So I shut it off. And one of the women that I've been friends with for quite a while, and she came over and said, Michael, you're not going to put that on YouTube, are you? I said, no, I'm not going to put that on YouTube. I'll just post, I'll get that, I'll load it to YouTube, and I'll just send a certain man who was there, I'll send it to his email address. That'll just be for you, your family, and your friends if you want to share it to them. And also my personal friends, but not my YouTube, not even my Patreon, because I have videos of them. You know, they don't want to be on YouTube. A lot of people don't want to be on YouTube. A lot of people don't want to be. They have nothing to do with me per se. There's a lot of people out there that just don't want to be on YouTube because of some of the trolls on YouTube saying stuff about what this person looks like, what that person looks like. So I respect their wishes. And so people like Scott and Dennis, Warren, Jack, even the Truth Lady, will get a private video link for the party that was on the beach yesterday. And I'm really sorry I didn't do more videotaping. It was actually a birthday party. The girl was 22 years old. I know her for about 3 years. I remember when she first met another friend of mine, and they started dating. She was 18 or 19, maybe. Yeah, I guess 18 or 19. And she's become my friend over the years. But these people don't want to be on YouTube. Now, I do have video of all of these people on video from another birthday party from another girl that was at the party. But you'd be surprised how many people don't want to be on YouTube because of the trolls on YouTube. And the fact that these trolls go from channel to channel to channel to channel and just make negative comments. So you have those videos to my friends to look forward to, and only for the links for the people in the party. And then there was one thing I wished I would have videotaped, and that was about 8 children from the age of, 2 to about 12 or 13. They were all smashing the sand with a stick, and they were all digging in the sand, and the sand was hard because it was above the high tide level, but it was packed down, just normally packed sand. And what they did is they made a mountain out of the sand, and this I don't have a video of. And they just kept pounding the sand with a stick and with a piece of wood, and the kids kept throwing the sand up into a pile. And then what they did was they used that pile to do flips over and land on. They would flip or cartwheel and land on the soft sand. That was the one video I should have taken, but I didn't. I'm sorry I didn't take it. That would have made a pretty cool video, even if I would have kept it private. But I did go swimming yesterday, and I did get that video of the fish that I'll post because it doesn't have anybody in the video. But the people that are in the Philippines, you'd be surprised how many people don't want to be on YouTube because of the trolls that go around from one channel to another, to another, to another, to another, and they have nothing to do all day except disperse bullshit coming out of their butt skis under channel names or underneath commenters' names with no content. And that just proves what a piece of shit they are in real life. Beyond any doubt, it proves that not only are they unaccomplished people, but that they're cowards for not showing their face along with their comments and or their channel. You go to these people's. Yesterday we had a piece of shit on here named it was a fake Rain Man channel, but it might have been the real Rain Man, or it could have been the other piece of shit posing as the fake Rain Man, or it could have been an actual piece of shit posing as the fake Rain Man and also poses as Malu, or it could have been a different channel name but the same piece of shit posing as, I forgot the other name, but either way, whoever that is who keeps coming on my channel as a troll is, if it is the person that everybody believes it to be, everybody knows that trolls themselves are nothing more than unaccomplished pieces of shit on the internet. And with that, I'm going to end my show. I want to thank everybody for stopping by. I actually want to go back to loading videos from yesterday, that fish video, and also the videos of the party from yesterday, so I could give it to the people who were in the party itself. So thanks for stopping by, everybody, and have a great day. And remember, if you're a troll that comes on my channel and you're afraid to show your face and your channel has no content on it, and you're a piece of shit that has to hide behind a fake name, probably you're an unaccomplished human or subhuman being that Henry Kissinger coined the phrase a long, long time ago. You are probably a useless eater moving through life, sucking off the real world and people who are known achievers, and you have been unable to accomplish anything worthwhile in your life. Therefore, you come on other people's channels and leave worthless commentary, hide behind your keyboard, aka the useless eaters of the world. Have a nice day, Dennis, Scott, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Remember, if you're an unaccomplished human being, you're a useless eater, according to Henry Kissinger. And with that, Mr. Obama, want to say anything? I love you, Michael Fazio. You love me, Mr. Obama? I love your videos. You made me famous. Thank you, Mr. Obama. Have a nice day, everybody. I'm Ping Permy from the Philippines, baby.